to This Is Rad.
Hey, y'all, we are in person.
Oh.
We have Laura and a guest. Robert is here.
Hello.
I'm bringing you in fast so that you can explain because your weekly rad is slowly getting warm on the table. So we got to open the box.
Has anybody brought a physical weekly rad?
It's been a minute. It's been a while since it's harder to send things via Zoom, because then you have to hire
Here,
two
let's see if
couriers.
people can tell what it is. I'm going to put the microphone
Oh, there we
up
go.
to
Yeah.
it.
You hear that? That's a three-dimensional object, everybody. So would you like to? So yes, we're going to talk about movies about movies. Robert Ott is here, and more importantly, we're going to do his weekly rad first, which is the
Outshine bars covered with tahini.
Yes.
They make them with tahini already on them now.
This is
You
gloriousness.
eat one as well, right? Yeah.
Originally, I was going to bring mango outshine bars and then a bottle of tahini, but then these appeared in the aisle and blew my mind.
Popping this open. This is wild.
I'd really like to know at this point in time, having moved away from the Great Lakes area so long ago at this point, like, has tahini and stuff like exploded in the middle of the country as well?
Don't open yours.
Oh, you don't think he's going to like it?
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
an
not for
acquired
everyone.
taste.
It's an acquired taste.
Okay.
I didn't open it yet.
So you should take a bite of Laura's then. There we
You
go.
should go
Okay.
ahead, and I'll have
So
the
Laura's
bottom of
no-fly.
it that doesn't have all the tahini on it.
You're like that person who has them sick, like lick the warhead sour off and then takes it.
Hey.
All right, I'm gonna try mine.
You got to take a bite of it with the mango. I think it also works.
Yeah,
Has a little bit of a kick.
It has a kick. You need that.
You need both.
You need both.
Laura, I'm telling you,
Separate.
Cold tahini is not anybody's idea of a good time,
it's different.
but like
This is like,
It's better with the bite on it, but I think I just
I've never
never been
hold on. I'm cutting you off right now because everybody needs to know. You didn't take a bite. You scraped the outside with
That's
your
not
teeth.
what I just did.
Yeah, you did.
I'll say this: it's the once you start getting the bites where you're getting like a good ratio, it's interesting. Each bite I've had has been a different experience thus far. All pleasant, but like having to keep looking at it going, is that the same? That's the same area.
The heat hits more than candy.
It is spicier than normal tahini.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd.
Do you think it's because it's part of because Outshine's like, let's use better ingredients
Maybe.
than like a popsicle?
it is
I mean, than
chunkier.
a lollipop.
Tahini's better
bigger-
ingredient is just more tahini.
This does look like bigger, more natural chunks.
I wonder if it being frozen affects it. If there's like chemical reactions within getting cold.
Does
I'm
it
not a doctor.
Does it maintain the flavor better because it's frozen?
Dang.
Okay, here's another question. Based off the fact that I saw a video earlier today about how to make Flaming Hot Cheetos powder, I wonder what this would be like with, instead of tahini, Flaming Hot Cheetos powder. I'd definitely give it a try.
I'd be open to that.
You're a madman.
Look, I'll one of these days, once I buy a thing of MSG, I'm gonna make that powder, and it's gonna make its way into every meal, and you're gonna hate me for it. But our buttholes are gonna be warm.
Oh boy.
Science.
I once during
We're
when I
3 minutes into this. This is the hottest we have come in quite a while. I'm enjoying it. Like this is
Spicy food, spicy jokes. Am I right?
Food on mic and in person already makes things live, and then I have forgotten that Robert is the master of chaos.
Am I?
I don't know. It's funny.
Oh, Matt's the one who's coming in
You want
here.
another bite?
Okay.
It's really getting me in the back of the throat.
So
It's
Devika,
not bad. It's just not my thing.
So your wife, by the
Yeah.
way, congratulations.
thank you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She doesn't like spicy food usually, or she doesn't. She really can't handle a lot of spice. Because she's half Filipino, half Indian. But she got all of the Filipino taste buds.
Yeah.
So like she just like
Sweet pasta.
a lot of sweet foods. But she's slowly with my Korean cuisine. She's been getting into a little bit of spicy foods. I don't know how she's gonna like these. Actually, I brought them home like today because we discovered these today.
Oh snap!
And I thought, it's already done. I don't need to bring up a separate bottle. So I might. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes.
Should we have somebody put the box back in the freezer?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I should probably take a quick break. To do
It's
that.
the drawer one in there. Just find an open spot where.
But she
make sure it can
recently-
still close.
Devika recently discovered tahini, and she's been putting it on everything. It's been like her gateway to vegetables, which she also doesn't take too kindly to.
Tahini is kind of like the new sriracha. I feel like where like
see that.
there's certain. I feel like the more options and world spiciness we get, the fun is that you start learning what kinds of spicy you like versus what you don't like. you know, and I think like I've found that like, because for a long time I was like, do I like spicy things? But then I like started trying different stuff and finding like tahini is definitely one of those ones where I'm like, when I first had that, like not that many years ago, but I was like, oh, this is wild.
Usually when you get tahini straight out of the bottle, it's more sour and it has a little bit of
I
tang
just
to it. It's
remembered
not-
my first
There's
tahini.
there's more of the like a lime.
There's more lime taste to
This
it.
was the thing that the kids at that high school that when I was working there like used to sell, and it was a bag of gummy worms with Kool-Aid and tahini mixed in it. And then you put a single drop of water in it, and then you tore the corner out of the bag and you slurped spicy sour worms through the bag.
My gosh.
Okay,
And
that's
yes, I
very
was a
interesting.
24-year-old man being instructed by teenagers how to do this.
That's
it
great.
felt like I was doing
Yeah.
like street drugs in Candyland.
Dude, really, it's. I'm looking at you the same way you're describing this drugs when I describe dabbing to
Yeah.
somebody.
I would have loved.
and you're just like, oh,
Look
so
at
I
me like,
shouldn't do this.
Are you sure you're not accidentally doing
I mean,
that?
I would have loved that Anthony Bourdain episode where he just eats
would have been. It's
tahini and gummy worms.
it's one of the handful of things from that time period that I really look back on and go, like, if I could get that one part back.
I threw Laura under the bus. I handed it back to her. Now neither of us know what to
She
do.
took a bite.
It's not that I hate it. It's just not that I love it.
See, I'm digging it, but I found that I have to eat it slow. Like you really have to like let a piece process, like which is like as you're supposed to eat food when you're just
think
like I
part of-
taste it and think about it.
I think part of it is also that I'm not like I don't think a mango popsicle is my jam.
I told you that.
You know what I'm going to throw out there?
Yeah. No, this was actually
We literally
this
had
was
this
a conversation we got into the other day. We always forget there's certain products that have both tangerine and mango flavors, and depending on the product, I like either the tangerine or the mango.
Tangerine's a real crapshoot. I'll feel you on there.
Both of them are a crapshoot. I don't know what it is.
I do less mango stuff. Ironically, one of the handful of ways I'll do mango is with tahini. And so
Interesting.
I'll rock that, but rarely do I go for it. But the tangerine, but even the tangerine fruit can sometimes be wonderful and sometimes be some serious bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, with Outshine bars, like I bought this giant pack from Costco a few days ago, and I was like, so we have the tangerine and the mango, so I'll eat the mango and you can have the tangerine, right? And he's like, but I like the mango.
Because we
"You
eat
don't like the
because we eat
mango."
mangoes. And I'm like,
And he was like, I don't like the tangerine. And then I had to make myself eat a tangerine popsicle so that he would lick it and know that he liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
So this is a delicious and exciting weekly rad.
Yeah.
Do we all want to make ours one group weekly rad?
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
We all saw
Motherfucking
Suicide Squad. So you haven't seen it yet.
I've not seen it.
So we
but
can't
it's on my list.
spoil too much.
Which
So-
is good because we shouldn't this fast anyway.
Yeah.
We should be
But
respectful.
I do remember the last
because there's a lot of fun surprises.
One of the last office conversations you and I had was that we both really liked Birds of Prey.
Yes, that was and this feels very much in the same kind of vein as Birds of Prey, which was exciting.
Yeah. It's a more cerebral experience than I was anticipating by all means. There's more like you got to get into the head of some of these because there's so many characters. These people more. One in particular, Kyle knows who I'm talking about. That is, it's amazing. And when the first time you kind of get to see the world through a particular character's point of view for a moment, it dawned on me
funniest shit.
that somehow James Gunn, it's as if like he snuck into an exec's office with, a big old fucking coat on top of some toddlers' shoulders and like talked his way in by pretending that he was Spike Jones and was like, hey, what if you give me almost $300 million to make a trauma film? And they were like,
Oh,
I
man.
guess so.
Yeah,
And then that's what we got. I fucking absolutely love
it
it.
does very much have trauma energy to it.
Yeah.
It's the other thing that it really reminds me of that kind of took me by surprise, and this is selling Robert, is it very much feels like he's pulling from the Giffen and DeMatteis Justice League International stuff.
Oh, wow.
The way it looks, the way the characters talk, the way they
Interesting.
frame a lot of stuff. Like I'm sitting with Taylor and I keep going, it's just like the Giffen and DeMatteis one, which means nothing to her. But at least I kept saying it.
You were saying before that it reminded you of a Spike Jones music video at points too, because
well, no, not Spike Jonze.
Spike Lee.
Chris Cunningham, is that the guy that made Aphex Twins?
Oh,
Anyways.
yes. Okay, yeah, there's some...
The same thing. It's really the same.
There's
same moment
Rubber
I'm talking
Johnny
about.
adjacent things there.
I think there's some Spike Jonze
Jonze, too.
adjacent stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like all that stuff with Harley Quinn felt very much in line with.
Oh yeah, no. There's I don't want to give away the exact thing that I'm talking about. That was like an.
That's
Aphex
why I
Twins.
said the thing with Harley Quinn.
I'll
It
say
wasn't Harley
this
Quinn, no,
too.
you
No,
were-
that part. I
Okay.
know.
So do you know nothing going into it?
I know very little going into it.
I knew zero. Like I kind of just was like, I don't think I even saw the trailer. I was just like, sure, I'll probably watch this. But
Yeah, I didn't
like,
really watch a trailer either.
the only reference point I have for the trailer was when I went to pee before F9 and the trailer was finishing as I was getting back and most of our group were just like, "Wah!" And I was like, man, what can James Gunn sure can do something to people's brains, because like everybody in the theater was just like, we're having as much fun at this trailer as we have at the
I think it's his
movie."
best film. I fucking loved it.
I think it's up there.
I know you like Guardians more.
I like Guardians a great deal.
I think Guardians, like everything Marvel, can't help but suffer from a little bit of the like magic fantasy stuff that I
Yeah.
get slightly pushed away from. And even though it's like
I feel that.
it's technology and space
I
and
like
stuff,
it- I like to-
I think it still kind of falls into that realm. And I just can't help
Star Wars
but,
versus
like,
Star Trek
yeah,
realm.
I like this better than I like
Star
Guardians
Wars
2 by a
sci-fi
wide
rather
margin.
than Star Trek sci-fi.
Yeah.
I don't like that argument though, because like I kind of put both of those on pretty equal pedestals in my mind. Well, you don't think that I do?
No, I think that you do.
Yeah, it's just well, I don't know.
You guys
Fantasy in
have a mouthful of popcorn.
So I have two critiques. I mean, like, these are legitimately walking away from the film. Were the first two things that I was just like, the two ways I feel like I would have improved this film, or potentially could have improved this film, is one, there's a character who, again, I'm obsessed with this one character, but he was just like, I'm a superhero. What I would have really liked is far earlier in the film that they acknowledge not only like, dude, not only are you a superhero, but you're probably the coolest superhero that's ever existed.
And
'Cause
also,
I think their fucking ability is bananas
but
amazing.
That character is the youest thing in any movie in a long time.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it's up there.
you loved him so much.
but-
You like that actor too, though.
Oh yeah.
Crazy
But,
guy from Dark Knight, because that's all I know him as.
Yeah.
Is he's just that crazy guy from Dark Knight who's just like, like, don't talk to him.
It took me the longest
he's
time
also
to
an
figure out that when you were talking about him in Dark Knight, you weren't talking about Cillian Murphy, because Cillian Murphy's in Begin,
Oh.
Yeah.
and you kept saying how much he kind of looks
He's
like him, and I
goofy-ass
was
Cillian
like, "What are you
Murphy."
talking about?"
I think
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, but the villain of the movie I also was unaware of, and that was another one where I just kept having to. The comic book fan still comes out sometimes.
Which,
and
when you
it's
say villain, you mean
the main
the
thing,
big bad?
because
Okay.
that thing has such historical importance to
That
DC.
I
So
saw
you-
the trailer.
Okay, so you know
It's
Starro. Okay,
yeah.
cool. I had no idea. Did not know Starro was in it. So the first time you saw a starfish looking thing, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Watchmen ass villain happening right now.
Starro is the reason the Justice League exists. Like Starro comes and forms he's so dangerous that's why the Justice League exists.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a little bit of a retcon, unless I don't know. Obviously, this is me not having seen the movie, but Starro is already in like one of the DC movies. It's like in the Snyder Cut.
It's not a retcon.
it's not a retcon.
Not
Oh
a
yeah,
It's like
no, it's been interesting to see sort of like DC like slightly pull out of its funk. And like seems like it's kind of like
Well, they're doing. I think what they were trying to do, what Marvel was doing, and that problem is that's. I don't think that's where DC shines. Where Marvel comic books, in my mind, as a bit of an outsider, Marvel comic books have always been about like long lore, like Bible-esque, like fucking just goes and goes and goes. Where I feel like DC is much more about like, here's the characters. Here's what they kind of represent. You kind of have to work within those realms, but then take them and do your own story and have an arc. And I feel like
It depends on
it's a little
its era.
You're not wrong, but it's a little more complicated than that, because basically Marvel uses their continuity through the book straight through. So like what started in the 60s to now like is all sort of fair game.
yeah.
And DC is much more, and correct me where I'm wrong on this, but like is much more, there is a history. It is not ever like, it's not issue 1 to issue now is all one thing. It's much more of this weird kind of patchwork, which is interesting. Like I've been on this run about Batman recently that like it's really starting to entertain me that when Batman, who is this beloved figure, and you go like, tell me what the definitive Batman story to read is. It's the one where he's really old and he hasn't been around for a while. Like that's the definitive Batman story. Not any, and they're like, well, what's number 2? The first year of his life. It's like, well, what happened in the middle? Like it doesn't matter. And so it's sort of a weird thing with Batman, and it's sort
year
of
1 and
illustrated,
then
but there is continuity stuff because DC also has done weird experiments too, because like they did Crisis on Infinite Earth,
well,
where like they flipped their continuity and reset it.
What I think is fun is that they kind of seem to give at least more leeway to creators to be like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'll pull from this, but I'll disregard this thing that's in the exact same piece that I'm pulling from.
Yeah.
And that is like, that's what's awesome. And the fact that the movies are starting to do that themselves is what's
agreed.
Great. And potentially better than Marvel. Everyone being like, "Oh, Eternals, it's gonna get an Oscar."
I think that movie's gonna eat fuck.
I'm gonna go. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. Even if
I want it to be good.
I am bummed because I think it'll be the first Marvel movie that fully disappoints, and they're gonna take all the wrong lessons from it.
Yeah,
where they're just like, "Well, we put all these things." I'm like, "Yeah, but you also have to make a movie that doesn't look like it's a lame wiener movie."
About characters who don't participate.
No one gives a shit. like, and so it's guys. I think they think they're pulling a Guardians, but like, Guardians is fun. You just needed somebody to see it. Like Guardians was just needed 80s pretty girl redo and then was fine. Whereas like the Eternals is a thing that's a hard sell at its best.
We'll see, because I think Marvel just needs its next formula break.
Yeah,
because what Burnside was kind of mentioning. I think you look at any 2 DC movies and they're tonally very different.
Yeah.
When they tried to make
they're
them
not in the same universe.
It was like, eh.
Yeah.
And as soon as they were like, fuck it.
I think the difference is boom, like they,
awesome.
Marvel hired TV people.
Yeah.
They hired literally people that worked on television shows to like plot out basically the most expensive television show of all time. And then DC.
And I don't want DC to follow what Marvel did, and I don't think they should, because I want both to exist.
Also,
if one is trying to do the same thing, one is always going to feel more tired than the other. Why do you even want to be in that race when you can feel constantly fresh?
I also don't think Marvel, if it tried a second time, could do what it did again.
No.
Like, I think like what they did is on almost every level unreproducible, like completely. And I think that's the interesting thing that I think like puts DC a little ahead versus Marvel is I think like Marvel, you hit a certain point, which was weird. Like I didn't realize a whole extra context for the movie Endgame because I had checked out by that point, that for so many people it was like, this is the end. And for me, it was like, I'm looking from the outside going like, we're going to do this and then see 19 more movies. And for a lot of people, it was like, like I was talking to, I'll let them be anonymous, but like a friend, and we're talking about it. And I was like, so this, and I was kind of, what do you think of X, Y, and Z, the new things? And he was like, I'm kind of done. Like I hit Endgame and I'm like, it's fine, but like, I don't have to do this shit anymore. I was like, oh, that's what it was. And so I think that they're in an interesting place. And I think it's kind of DC's sort of sitting in a spot where it's like, we just can throw weird bullshit at people and see what sticks. And that's not, that's literally how Hollywood works.
I think Marvel's saving grace, though, will be the Disney Plus series.
Sure. That doesn't make anywhere near the same amount of money, though.
No, but there's no denying. Say what you want about Winter Soldier series, whatever. It is what it is. It's a thing. It exists. It's fine entertainment, but we're not going to talk about it 5 years from now, but we're still going to be talking about fucking WandaVision and Loki.
But also, like, neither of those shows will ever recoup the cost.
But I don't necessarily think those are all about money. I think
I don't know about that.
I think there's more. I think a complex strategy of trying to run a behemoth of a film and television universe while also trying to hold up theater ticket sales, theme park sales, and all these other things. I think it starts to come into a play of not just looking at them as money, but also looking at them as expensive commercials. I absolutely think this next phase hinges on these series. If Loki wasn't good, they're fucked. They would have been fucked. I think a sizable amount of people would have not started to show up for the next phase in theaters.
I never fully buy that, though, only because there's so many, like that, the last run they did where they're like, Mahershala is fucking Blade, and people lose their mind at just a sentence with no concept or anything behind it. They have enough, like, they now have the ability to do actor and character they haven't done yet every time they start to get unpopular.
We also have to talk about the biggest flex recently, which is that Spider-Man's not going to have any commercials or any trailers.
That's tight.
They said no trailers at all?
No trailers at all, and the internet went nuts.
So that's for this new Spider-Man movie?
Yeah, the new Spider-Man. They're
that's cool.
And
that's really sweet.
It's a huge
Those Spider-Man movies kind of rule.
It's them it's them saying like Spider-Man's going to make us money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you're going to watch it when we put it out.
Sony
the Spider-Man movies are better than everything that Marvel did by themselves.
Yeah, I will fully sign that. I mean, those are two of the ones that because I've picked and looked around and watched some stuff at this point, just sort of for cultural awareness, and like it was interesting to watch those and go like, oh, these are really
Did you
good.
watch WandaVision yet?
I've watched the first two. Like, I like it.
Oh man, you have to you have to
get
keep
past
going.
like
power through the other
Sure.
4 episodes.
I will watch it when I am not in a crippling depression field, so I won't just shit on everything you enjoy because my brain chemistry is not great. So I keep holding it back, not because I don't want to watch it, but because like I need to watch it at a time where I'm not going to be a total nightmare about it.
I get that.
Because I liked what I saw. Like I will never watch the other two. So like I'll put it this way: like I've watched 2 episodes of WandaVision.
You don't want to watch Loki.
I don't like Tom Hiddleston at all as an actor.
You're going to take the wrong argument on this.
I don't like the character Loki or Tom Hiddleston.
Okay.
Neither did I.
Laura, I know how to argue with Kyle about Marvel. You conflict with him too much. Kyle and I, deep down, we're on the same side. We're on the same team. We're the same bench warmers, all right? We don't get to play. We don't start.
You're very curious about what the wrong argument is.
We're going to make her say it.
Okay, good.
Laura, the longer he talks, the more I decide.
She's just like, standing by the ropes right now.
Whatever he says, my final statement is like, and what do you have to add, Laura? Just so we can deconstruct the bit.
Awesome. I can't wait.
No, it's Control.
The video game Control.
It's video game Control.
See, and I love that as a concept. Do you know what would be the real deal breaker for me with that is if you put Loki in it.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. I fucking hate Loki too. I'm
glad that everybody's not crazy about Loki.
He's always been my least favorite character. 100%.
When he died at the beginning of Infinity War, I was like, all right, we're off to a decent start here.
Yeah.
I'm bummed we lost the blind guy, but this is great.
No, it's cool. It's cool for everything despite him.
Okay.
It's cool for the other Lokis. It's cool for the other actors that are in it.
I'll say this.
He's fine. He works, but I don't care. I still don't care about
also
him.
didn't watch.
Never did. I didn't watch the whole thing.
You haven't finished Loki yet, or
no, I haven't finished all of it. Because here's the other thing.
It was my.
Have you finished it?
Yes, I finished.
I don't necessarily like to just like to the clock watch them every single week, and before I even wake up, they're already fucking spoiled for me on my phone. There's either a news alert or somebody texted me or some stupid shit, and so literally everything has been ruined for me. Somehow before they even air, I've found out stuff. I'm just like, this is stupid. So I just kind of, like Kyle, I'll finish it whenever I feel like it. But I wouldn't say run away from it because you hate Tom Hiddleston, because I don't care about him as an actor.
I'll consider that one.
I'm neutral on him. Hit the character of Loki, I think, is a big turd. Don't care for him one bit.
It's interesting because how familiar are you with spoilers from?
I do not worry about spoilers. So throw it, whatever you want to pitch, throw it out.
So Devika and I like Loki a lot. We like, the way that Tom Hiddleston plays Loki. And I really, really liked Sylvie.
Yeah, she's very likable.
But Devika was not a fan, not on board with Sylvie. She just
dangerous. I often side with Devika on all things.
I know. And she just didn't like it. And then Sylvie really grew on her the way that they continue to build her character.
Okay.
And I won't talk about the final episode, but there's a lot to unpack and a lot to discuss in the final episode.
Man, K-Dog is making her first big podcast appearance.
She's so excited to just be here.
Hello.
Do you need to go inside, Pop? Hi. Laura, would you grab the door for her to see if she wants to go inside? Thank you. Laura's closer to the door, everybody. I'm not just making Laura do stuff. She ran away.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's,
I'm curious about it. The two that I genuinely had me curious, I watched one, the other one, like I'm curious about What If. I will give that at least one.
Yeah, because that
episode,
like doesn't
it's,
count.
It's just weird. I will say I gave
what's great.
MODOK a chance and did not love it.
How many episodes did you get in? Did you like the first two and then fall off? Because that's what happened.
I didn't like the first one.
I also watched the first
Interesting.
two.
I
We
learned
watched all of them that you
I'm
don't
gonna finish it,
remember,
though.
but we did.
I'll watch them. Maybe it's
gonna
out.
finish
No, the last two
the
kept
thing
going
that was
and I
pissing
wasn't
me
in the
off.
mood.
Oh.
I would have watched more of them, but Hulu for iPad is broken and you can't download things from Hulu onto your iPad. I looked it up. It's a real problem
interesting.
that no one is solving. And so I wanted to watch it on the plane coming back from Virginia, coming back from all the funeral stuff, because I was like, this is perfect. I'll do this here. And then it wouldn't go. And so like I tried watching one when I got back, and like I think the robot chicken type of humor I've just sort of like drifted away from. It's why I'm kind of curious about What If, because What If kind of feels like, do you remember when Jim Mafood did an issue of Ultimate Marvel Team Up?
remember
It
that.
feels that same kind of energy.
Yeah.
And like that was one of my earliest like comics are fun like things when I started reading comics. He is like a graffiti artist who does a lot of comic book art. He did a bunch of the Clerks comics back in the day. And he did a single issue of, they used to do this Ultimate Marvel Team Up where we Spider-Man and somebody else. And I don't even remember who he was paired with, but it's like just 22 pages of jokes, you know, with really crazy art. And it was like Elektra's in the background wearing a shirt that says "I die a lot," like that kind of level of goofy humor on it. And What If looks like it has a real similar vibe to that. So I'm kind of curious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's also Chadwick Boseman's.
Final piece, huh?
Yeah. They got him in the booth
That's
to do his
that's still insane.
to do T'Challa. But yeah, going back to the Loki thing, Devika and I actually we like Loki. Going in, we actually thought his writing was very cool.
K-Dog, calm it down.
We thought the writing for his character was actually pretty bad.
Okay.
But it really is an ensemble piece. It's the other characters.
It's totally the other stuff.
And they do write Loki to be just like the straight man, just he's there, and it's all the support characters that he's kind of
The audience surrogate.
yeah.
He is
He's
a
the
lot more.
audience
He
surrogate.
is a lot
That's
more
an
of a straight
interesting
man.
That is
concept.
basically what they
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really it's funny because this Loki is not he's not the one who's causing the thrust of the plot, and he is not the one who is causing the problems, really.
He's along for the ride. More.
He's there to be rehabilitated as a character, this is the rehabilitation of Loki Laufeyson. It's like he is absolutely made to be so much more tolerable and so much
Okay.
more fun to watch.
I will say this.
Because he gets every peg you can take him down, he gets taken down.
Okay.
He gets put to the ground and stepped on over and over and over again.
There's another
Literally in
aspect,
one sense.
you know,
Literally one time that happens.
something else I didn't even think of that's like not even involved to like Loki the character himself or anything really is how the TVA and the fact that this like exists like in between all of time kind of thing, they can really kind of play with and kind of like say fuck you to like aspects of the MCU, like a thing that you won't give a shit about having spoiled. The guy opens up his drawer in the like super early in like episode 1, and inside of the drawer are just a bunch of Infinity Stones.
Oh, that's fun.
Because they
just-
mean nothing.
Yeah.
They mean nothing to them.
They're
Oh, that's
useless.
really
They're
cool.
paperweights.
Yeah,
People
they have
use them as
tons of
paperweights.
extras of each Infinity
That's
Stone.
fun.
And so there's a lot of like.
I think it's
Who
what
gives a crap about
why I'm
some
like
stuff.
suspicious on some of their like Marvel going funny now, because like they're so self-serious about their stuff that it always feels a little bit like the teacher wearing a funny hat.
In this case, it was
I think they
almost
earn it.
it was almost like it was funny, but you can see through the character, like it's devastating. It's devastating for him to realize that this thing he's been fighting his whole life for is nothing. And also you see the stone that Nat died for.
Oh, okay.
You see it right there. There's that stone she died for when there's like 5 of them in this drawer. It means nothing.
wild.
That sacrifice, it's nothing.
Well, the box office could have told you that. No, it did fine.
But like that's why it's like it's a fun gag.
Disney's arbitrators want to have a word though.
It's a fun gag, but it carries a lot of weight.
Did you see Skull Island?
Yes.
Okay, because that was the one time where I was like, okay, like this movie's so good, I can actually put my like issues with him aside and like just turns out just put him next to John C. Reilly, and I'm a little bit placated.
Oh, yeah, I
Anything
forgot
with
he
John
was
C.
in that.
Reilly.
That's like, because that was the first one. I was like, oh, like I'm sitting here and I'm not actively annoyed by him being in a thing. Like this is progress. So that made me think. Okay. And then Taylor's a big fan of the show Loki, so she's been watching it. So I'm certain if I were like, I'm interested in this, she'd jump on it.
Yeah, I know what you mean
dangerously
about
close to the end of the nanny.
Their flavor of which she Fran Drescher's running for president of SAG-AFTRA.
She got my vote. I'm not in it.
She's got a lot of people's votes actually.
But that'd be
Sounds
great.
like it.
She is truly the best. We are 6 episodes away from that end of that show, and it's officially, I think, my favorite sitcom, like multicam
It's so
sitcom.
good.
It's filthy, and it just keeps getting weirder, and like the murderer's row of gay icons that fill up that lineup of like guest support characters. Like Taylor and I've been, because the nanny's on HBO Max, and that's become our like date night or hanging out show. Spalding Gray, it has a 3-season arc on that show where he like does bits.
Really?
Like, and that's the like, I just, like, literally at some point I had to show my girlfriend clips from swimming to Cambodia to explain to her why I think this is so weird.
Isn't that the name of the tragic gay character in Streetcar Named Desire?
Spalding Gray?
Am I losing my mind?
Maybe. It's also,
clue.
I mean, that's entirely possible. But yeah, so it's been some interesting runs with watching different things as of late.
I'll say with the humor thing that you were saying with where it feels like the teacher is trying to like hang out with the kids kind of stuff. I also had that suspicion, so I had that guard up initially, and I think both well, since I've watched all of it, WandaVision definitely broke that down. It as a show earned it. Winter Soldier one, every time they were trying to be funny, I was just like,
yeah. That one, like,
trying,
like there's like, for me, like the difference too is like, and I'm torn because like I like Anthony Mackie quite a bit. Like I think the Falcon's fun, but like I don't love Loki, but like I've seen things with Loki, and like I think the Winter Soldier sucks, but I also think like the character Winter Soldier has always sucked. Like from the first time he like that's Winter Soldier showing up is right around the time I stopped reading
Loki and Winter
comics.
Soldier are my 2 least favorite MCU characters.
it's because that's he comes post Winter Soldier, right? Or I mean he comes post Civil War because it's Captain America shot in the face and that's when he shows up, right? Or is it before that?
No, it's before.
I think it's before.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait.
But it's in that era.
It's in that era.
It's in
for
the
sure.
new Avengers era because he's a Bendis character, isn't he?
He's a Brubaker character.
Brubaker, that's it.
Yeah.
Brubaker, the other Bendis.
Yeah.
Can I say my other thing though that I would have done to improve Suicide Squad? Because it's simple. Get rid of the orchestral song that is in the credits at the end. And put Rats from Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Because it opens
agree.
up when the rats run riot. And the last line is when you let the rats out. And in the middle, there's a great line that has the word suicide in it. I mean, and it would have went with the other song choices throughout the movie.
I fully agree.
Because there's a bold use of the Pixies, I'd say. They use a part of a Pixies song that I don't think you get.
You mean Hey?
Yeah.
Hey's like everywhere now. I was saying to
But it's the beginning. It's that part that doesn't groove, and that's what's like amazing to me is they ride that whole part of the song, and I was like, wow.
It's kind of blown me away in general that has become kind of the definitive Pixies song, like that people drop in stuff.
Where is my mind is the definitive Pixie song. Let's be real.
But it's changed.
Yeah, it's flipped. Like it's weird.
Changed.
You hear, I think Where's My Mind got played out, and so like Hey has become like
somehow Hey is
here's
just
my
like,
cool.
Fight Club did that.
Yeah.
Fight Club made sure everyone knew that movie.
Sucker Punch did that.
Okay.
Because Sucker Punch has that version of Where's My Mind where you're just like, oh, the song's over. Because remember, it's got that weird cover of it in there.
They have Army of Me in there too. They have very strange covers in that movie.
I will say the reason I know that is because Robert is a defender of Sucker Punch.
I am.
I own Sucker Punch.
I own 2 copies of Sucker Punch.
You know, there's people that are like,
people have gifted it to me, knowing that I like it.
I bet it would be good if they did a Snyder cut of Sucker Punch. There's for sure a good movie in Sucker Punch.
Supposedly,
there is apparently.
I would absolutely go watch that.
And similar conflicts that he had with the studio.
The best way to watch Sucker Punch is on Blu-ray in maximum movie mode because Zack Snyder is one of the few directors who
he loves an extra feature.
Yeah,
what is maximum movie mode?
So
exactly.
It was a thing that Warner Brothers DVDs like Yates, the director of the Harry Potter movies,
Yes.
is the only other director, and Guy Ritchie does it too.
It sounds like something me and my friend would have made up when we were like trying to be stupid.
Which is not that far off from like early
We're
on
walking
in
into a
Blu-ray
movie
special
theater.
features for a while. They were like, we got to figure out something, and none of them took.
It's like when I went to see Pineapple Express. I feel like we got really high and barked that into the sky as we were walking into the super ultra movie mode or whatever it was you said.
It does require it, for you to have seen the movie once. So like maximum movie mode the second time around is great because the movie will be interrupted by Zack Snyder in wherever the Matrix is and just like screens. He just shows you like,
He's in that fucking chair.
This scene is great. And it adds so much context because like on a movie timeline and like a history of film timeline, Sucker Punch exists in such a unique place because at that point in history, it's one of those movies. Name another movie where it's an all-female cast that is in a like
Action
high
movie.
concept action movie. There's none. And you watch these actresses have like the time of their lives just doing physical training and wire work, and they're just talking about it, geeking out behind the scenes. They're just like, I never get cast in these roles. I always get cast as like the best friend. Or the comedic romantic relief, and they go off on it.
Or
And
Robin, they cut out of the movie.
yeah, and you appreciate it more. And I think Birds of Prey definitely another reason why I loved it was that after watching it, I thought, wow, so now I have Sucker Punch and Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Awesome, And it also
what about Gunpowder Milkshake?
So the other criticism.
I tried to finish
Clear out your
it.
desk and
Tried to
get
finish it without me.
I tried.
the
We just couldn't.
I really wanted to like Gunpowder Milkshake, but it falls under this other thing that movie studios have, which is, we have an all-female cast. The movie has to be about family.
Yeah.
And that's just like, why? Why can't it just be like a fun action movie?
There's only
I
one
wanted it so
family
badly.
meme,
Just
and it's family. I'm just doing memes. Don't worry.
I would have been annoyed with that movie even on mute, though. I couldn't stand the way they would like choreographed everything around the camera movement.
Whereas
like,
on the flip side, I think Sucker
constantly.
Punch works on mute sometimes better.
yeah, it's a series of
point.
vignettes. It has like that. You're watching one really cool music video after another, and it's
chunk with where they're in the trench in like the cyber World War I is like that was the point where I'm watching. I'm like, I'm supposed to love this. Like, there's something here that's gone wrong because everything about this is things that I think are great, and I'm having a good time, but know I could be having a better time. So like, release that Snyder cut.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
one I'd watch.
Yeah,
I
would
still
too.
really like the theatrical just because it really does play as a wish list movie. Like Zack Snyder just wrote out a bunch of scenes that he really wanted to see. I want to see somebody fighting a dragon, giant samurai robots.
Yeah, it really-
Nazi zombies, steampunk
Burlesque
Nazi
Club,
zombies.
Insane Asylum.
Yeah.
I do really wish
Action
I would have.
heroes.
I actually haven't seen it, and I wish I would have saw it at the time because I feel like I would have appreciated it at that given moment in time because I think that would have been right around the time that I saw The Spirit as well, which like
Rough go.
yeah, that made me like hate any like I
Spirit's
just didn't want to see anything
such a bummer.
involved with a graphic novel ever again for just
I mean, Sucker Punch is original, though. Sucker Punch
yeah.
isn't a graphic novel.
it wasn't.
No.
Fully original. That's Zack
Fully
Snyder's
original.
brain.
Really?
That's why it really is a wish list
It's
like
also,
movie.
It is
I
literally
believe, his
whatever
only
you want it to be.
original work, right? It's the only thing he's written that's not an adaptation.
Yeah.
Because it's like Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen,
And
Sucker
then,
Punch.
unless you count
Justice League or
I
Batman.
mean, Army
Justice
of the
League.
Dead is kind of a.
Oh,
yeah,
It's
Army-
original,
but I mean, like,
but it's basically aliens.
But I mean, like,
Well, yeah,
with zombies,
but I mean,
but
like up
yeah.
to that point, it
Yeah.
was the first thing he'd done where it was like, this is my ideas. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
My weird thing, and I'm gonna make it, and I don't care if you hate
and
it.
every single one of his movies has a perfect opening credit sequence.
that is correct. The man,
He-
man
the
could do
opening
so
of
good at it.
He is
Watchmen
really good at
stays
that.
with me for
It's
the rest. It'll
perfection.
stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
that is so true. Like,
Yeah, his opening credit sequences are always on point. And
And
Watchmen is one of the best.
I was about to say the Watchmen's the best one, but that is incorrect because it's still Dawn of the Dead. Like that Dawn with
you're
the Johnny
right.
Cash song is
Great use of Johnny
It's so
Cash.
good.
That's
like,
true.
but Watchmen
I
is
love
up
the
there
Watchmen.
too. Like I would sometimes watch Watchmen and then just realize like, oh, I just want to watch the credit sequence.
Well, I remember
It's so good.
And I like that
captures the
movie.
I
essence
read
of
Watchmen
the novel.
after watching Watchmen because I was like, okay, people are saying it's different. I want to know why it's different. I want to get what this is all about. And I just remember being like, wow, that opening to the comic,
Yeah,
it's like, it's perfect.
it's funny that
It's so good.
the opening credits to that movie somehow when the rest of the movie, which is following the plot, fails to because I don't think that movie's bad. Like I think
don't either.
but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that, but that's not its fault. But it's funny that and I am ardently and vehemently refuse to read any of the comic book sequels to The Watchmen, but somehow that credit sequence and the HBO sequel, I fully sign off 1,000%. And it's fascinating to me that the only spin-off stuff from The Watchmen that I enjoy at all is movie adaptation-y stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like the movie doesn't work because the comic, it's weird how it kind of flips and ephemera fails when movie versions of it don't.
I think we all need to constantly remind ourselves how much of an outlier that Watchmen series is, though. Like,
that Watchmen
it
series
could be tried.
so good.
So many people could try to recreate not necessarily like another Watchmen, but like that same essence of a different property and just completely.
I think that
scorch it.
what screwed it over at the time, and I think that like it's evened out a little bit now, and I think it's why
in the film.
With the film, I think that part of it is the Sin City adaptation, which has not aged great, but like is such a perfect adaptation of that comic.
Yeah.
And I think that being a reference point that's still in people's heads when they go to Watchmen really holds it to an even weirder standard.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I think that because it's sort of why like I just have zero interest in them making a Sandman thing, because like if like that Watchmen version of that is like the best version of a Watchmen adaptation we can get, and it's like pretty good, but like Sandman is so much harder, weirder, goofier, and more difficult to adapt that there's just no version of it that I think is
do think we are in a world where a weirder, high concept like genre.
But you
films
misunderstand.
like that
The
can
Sandman is profoundly uncool and dorky in a way that is not
Neil
in
Gaiman.
time. Like this is Neil Gaiman at his most like Tori Amos.
It's Devika's
like,
favorite.
It is a
graphic
clove
novel
cigarette
series.
hug in a way that like you just like because I mean I've thrown Sandman at a million people, and most people I know that I throw it at are like, this is not for me, and I'm just like, look, I get it. It shouldn't be for me, and it's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's hard because Neil Gaiman has this incredible range where it can at one point just be dark and cool, and then other points he's completely twee
He's so
and
dorky. Like
Yeah.
Stardust is his best adaptation, and it's his goofiest, most earnest thing. He made
Love
a
that
sequel
movie.
to The Princess Bride, and like
He really did. Oh my god! I never thought about that.
Right,
I did watch it recently.
It's, oh,
Actually,
that movie's so
so
fucking
good.
good. I have such a distinct. The first time I saw that movie was me and 4 other like gruff boys in like a shitty hovel, and we put that movie on, and we're drinking beers, and we're hanging out, and by the end of the movie, all 5 of us like, they ended up together, and it's such a magic. like, and we're full. Like I was thinking that Waiting to Exhale sketch from Saturday Night Live. That was us with Stardust.
it's not. And it's like it's going to be a happy ending.
But like,
Is that-
but you
isn't
still
that
have Neil
Michelle
Gaiman because like the
Pfeiffer or
corpse
somebody?
sword fight is the Neil Gaimanest thing of all
yeah,
time.
it's weird.
So I guess the real question is, when it comes to things that are one medium, do you prefer letter versus spirit? Like
Kind of spirit.
I think I'm a
it's-
spirit
because
I
person.
with
used
the
to be a
Watchmen
letter,
TV show,
yeah.
it is the spirit of
Yeah.
the Watchmen graphic novel.
But they
Whereas-
also pulled in everything they could from the graphic novel.
Yeah.
They used every bit of that like
buffalo.
extra.
And they fixed some things.
Yes.
Like the way
Yeah.
they
Yes, they
wrote
did.
minority characters and women, they totally fixed for
Fixed
the
them.
TV series.
Yeah, the women are written like human women,
Exactly.
and not like just pawns
devices.
for all the men. Yeah, I always hated how Laurie was treated in Watchmen because you can tell the bones of her character are good, and you can tell that she would be, but she gets thrown around so much by everyone.
And you got to
around her.
give kudos to Damon Lindelof for that, because he made sure that his writer's room was like, it was evenly split, like men and women and, people of color and like basically like he made sure that Watchmen was clearly not his story to write.
Yeah.
And so he brought on people to write those stories.
He has that
So
great thing on that podcast talking about it, like assembling that, where he's like,
somebody asked him, like,
Yeah.
what makes you think that you're the one to write this story about Black Wall Street? And he looked at them and he said, I'm not.
That's why I had someone else write it.
And that's why.
Yeah, it
It's
was
funny
like-
sometimes because you look at like when like Damon Lindelof being a great example of a guy who is like a producer who like makes really ambitious, really interesting stuff. He hires really good people for it and like really pushes the boundaries and takes risks and like is constantly shit on. And meanwhile, there's like 1,000 executives who would rather die than like put one of his shows that were successful together. And those people are just like, they're doing the Lord's work. They're keeping things right. I'm just like, they're making the bullshit you don't like. He's making the weird shit. Stop going after him. Yeah. There are a lot of other people that you could be doing this to.
Though I was really surprised to see recently that Cowboys versus Aliens might be coming back.
What?
Who's asking for that?
I was really surprised.
All right.
There might be a series or
one
another
person
movie.
demanding that.
Yeah, that's
The problem with Cowboys
totally
versus
right.
Aliens is it could have been good.
Yeah.
The concept works. I like the concept. I just don't think the execution worked.
It was a demo tape for Iron Man. Like that's all
Yeah.
that movie is. Was
That
him
was-
going like, I got to figure out these effects, and Zathura was a
There's
minute
some
ago.
context for that one, I think. I haven't seen the movie, and I also have not read the comic book that it's based on.
It's an Avatar book, right? Or is it Dynamite?
I think neither.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the context for that is when studios were seeing that comic book movies were making money, and so
Yeah.
they bought this comic book that on paper should have worked, but obviously it didn't.
Well, they did. The problem with it is that they came in with this like fun concept, and then they played it super straight. They played it so straight, and it was very odd. It was so odd. There isn't the lightheartedness.
That sounds like
Yeah.
it could be fun.
Do you know what that movie?
No.
Unintentionally.
No, but
but
like,
it's not.
it's not.
It's not. It's just like it's like
they
a
play
dreary.
they play it straight in the wrong light.
Oh no.
Like so, do you know what
Yeah.
I mean by that? Like I know that kind of doesn't really make sense.
It's got
but
real early
also a bit of a
90s
dour-
adventure movie kind of vibe.
It's a
Yeah.
dour film.
Is
it really is.
Would you say that there are any scenes that are so bad that they're memorable?
No, that's
No.
the problem.
So the problem is
No.
that it's in the middle
Yes,
of the
absolutely.
spectrum, which is the worst thing you can
That
do.
is
100%.
exactly
The worst thing you can be.
It's dead center in the middle of all things.
I'm literally the only thing. Like
Oh,
I'm
man.
struggling to think of anything that isn't Daniel Craig running and
or wearing that
with like a
thing
lot of
and going
dust.
Yeah,
And like and that's all. I can't even.
That's a shame.
I can't even remember what the aliens.
do you know what
Anything regarding the aliens?
I
looks like.
think would be money in the bank if people are deciding that they're going to buy comics and turn them into things that kind of shocks me they never did because they tried to make it work before is Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Are you guys familiar with this?
No.
It is
I forgot about that.
hard to describe. It was a comic originally called like Cenozoic or Xenozoic
Yeah,
era, and it's time travelers in dinosaur times, but also it's the post-apocalypse, and it's basically like
I think I know what you're talking about. It's a Topps comic book, isn't it?
Yes,
It's produced by Topps.
it bounced around. It was a creator-owned one in the 80s, so he
okay.
the guy kept bringing it to companies. That company would go out of business. The rights would go back to him, and then a year later he would start the book again, and issue 3 would come out from another company in another format,
God, that's
and that happened
amazing.
for like a decade. And then they turned it into a cartoon that was pretty good and a great Capcom video game. And they really were like, why isn't this work? And I feel like that's one of those things where effects are now, especially like after watching like Skull Island, I was like, a Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, like put somebody cool in the like make that dude and lady, whoever are cool actors working, and then have them drive a cool car and fight dinosaurs and dinosaur poachers and collect money. Like I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I watched Jurassic Park recently and was like, we need more dinosaurs. We need entirely more dinosaurs. I was watching. I was.
Did you watch the movies that made us?
I have not. Did I have a Jurassic Park one?
There's a Jurassic Park. on this
I
new
was
season.
thinking about it because I
It's
just
excellent. There's some details of that I never knew.
because I did the toys that made us sound turtles, but so I'll do the movies that made us about Jurassic Park. That sounds
Oh yeah,
interesting.
there's. I mean, even the stuff that you kind of like knew or like you had a good idea of. It's still neat to see exactly the inner workings of how it went from like we need to use computers and not just puppets.
Yeah.
And like
All the Phil Tippett stuff
the
and-
destruction of ego, and then like the rebuilding of egos that kind of happens, and like everything.
where they're
just
like, Phil,
fucking
you
going
can operate
right.
the little models that have
Just-
sensors.
Yeah, of all the things of like this guy came up with a great idea that kind of fucked this guy over and makes him like not
Yeah.
even need to be there, and then eventually this guy figures out a way to make this all better and everything, and it just like everything.
That movie's a
Everywhere where it
tribute
felt
to
like something was
working
going to
together.
like you know, on the verge of like, man, something could go wrong here. The exact right divine thing happens and just makes perfection left and right, and it's kind of just
I
amazing.
do laugh with this watching it recently because I tried to watch it like as an experiment, because that is a movie I have no objectivity for. Like,
I'll say this. Sorry, just while it's on my mind, because we had watched Jaws earlier too, so I was just thinking Spielberg. Totally made me respect him just a little bit more as a filmmaker. Obviously, he's Spielberg. Everyone has respect for him. Don't know if you heard of him. Pretty big deal. But
the director of Minority Report.
I really like. There's one thing that he did of like
movie.
where he's the blocking of the scheduling of like what they shot. The first time they like get to like do anything involved with any dinosaurs is the Triceratops.
Yeah,
and genius,
absolutely
having that, because after that, all the stuff that's just like, look, there's going to be a dinosaur there. It's air right now. Because the Triceratops puppetry was so insanely good, when they start breaking that down and they see it in person, you're like, fuck, I would have been like, this isn't real.
Yeah. They had never seen it too. They came on.
That's the way you got to do that kind of
stuff.
So
it was real for them.
That's my favorite thing in any movie, when they like get the real reactions. I always feel like it's a real fun trick.
Yeah, them like coming through the grass and being like, what? Completely genuine. And that just like.
I would have been the same way. I would have lost my shit if I had a huge animatronic that was also.
Well, they had that one in Islands of Adventures that was so cool.
I've never been there.
Oh, they used to have a big Triceratops, and it's where the Velocicoaster is now. But and you could go in and see an animatronic Triceratops that was sitting in there. But I was trying to watch it because that's again a movie that I am just a stand for of the hardest degree. I tried watching it with the idea of like, if I was my age right now and Jurassic Park is a thing that is coming out. And it is funny because like it's the craziest premise. If you like, we now do not think about it as crazy because we've seen Jurassic Park. Like, but when you just sort of look at it on paper before you see anything of it, when you just heard, oh, there's this book and it's about bringing dinosaurs back to life with cloning, and they build a theme park and then everything goes awry. Like, you hear that as an adult person without any context for knowing what Jurassic Park is, like, that sounds insane.
I mean, to be fair, Principal Skinner comes up with the idea.
Yes.
Independent.
Timmy the Clonosaurus.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's just so funny because it's such a weird premise.
Yeah.
Like the cloning dinosaurs is already weird. Building it into a theme park is weird. Having like a hacker fuck it up. Like it's the best idea Michael Crichton, a guy who had a lot of good ideas, has ever had. But like it was such an interesting thing to really watch it.
He just loved ruining theme
truly
parks.
Did. And it's just like, it was such an interesting way to watch it and try to put yourself in like, because again, I watched it when I was 5 or 6, and I was just like, well, humanity has apexed, I see. And like watching it now, I'm like, because it's good. It is a great movie. It's not a like, oh, nostalgia helps me enjoy it.
No,
like,
it's a fucking great. It holds up so much better than just about everything.
In fact, that like one of the great American films is a movie about a dinosaur theme park.
But the thing is, at its heart, it's about capitalism running a fucking
Thanks, Colin
which is
Trevorrow.
The most American
but it
fucking
is.
thing.
It's
and
so
it's even more so, the original sentiment there, I feel like, is much more about the responsibility of science. Like the capitalism thing is there, but like the responsibility of science, and like just because you can do something, should you do it?
But I think the underlying thing is capitalism, because the reason certain like they had the carnivores and decided to get these dangerous dinosaurs was because that's what people would want to see, and they make that pretty clear in the movie.
Yeah,
and they do that in the sequels as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little wound up. Capitalism,
and I'm not saying that's not part of it. They have that money shot of the merch that is again like one of the greatest shots in
genius.
The movie.
Also, the whole reasoning of why the place isn't fully done and built is great. It's really just like, oh fuck, we have to finish the movie. Fuck it, we don't have time to finish the set.
That's the
I guess it works out perfectly.
And it does work out perfect. Yeah, I did not know that. That's super interesting.
It's genius.
They were gonna finish it, but they didn't.
So
but like, I think capitalism obviously feeds into the exploitation and going off the rails with science and everything. But I'd say I feel like the honing in on the science aspect. Maybe I'm full of shit because I haven't actually read it, but I feel like that's more book.
It's definitely
the capitalism lean is a little bit more.
Yes,
movie.
but the book also has a different dual layer. It's funny you say that because I didn't even think about it until you said this, because the movie is absolutely like capitalism and science,
and part of it is efficiency of time. You only have 2 hours.
The book version of it is, and this is, I maintain the Jurassic Park is one of the 2 times where I think that the movie is categorically better than the book. It's Fight Club and the Jurassic Park.
Fight Club is very much improved by that that film.
And fucking Jurassic Park, the book version, the way they vary it is it's the responsibility of science versus chaos theory. And so, because like it's also crazy like how good fucking Jeff Goldblum is in that movie, and having to do psychotic dialogue, beyond even like his dialogue in The Fly, which is crazy, but he still seems like a regular person in The Fly. In Jurassic Park, he is like on another level, but like in the book, Ian Malcolm is similar to that, but his whole thing is sort of like much more that like on a long enough timeline, if you make enough reckless decisions, you're creating variables that ultimately lead to an unstable whole. And like that very much being like the book is set up in like configurations and is breaking things down like that. And so that the book is more about like the way situations devolve quicker and quicker once like a system breaks.
That's very much the Westworld kind of.
Yes.
Exactly. His idea is how can capitalism ruin a perfectly good scientific theme park?
It's most of his books are basically that, because like Micro is about that. Prey is about that. Prey is the one I'm always surprised never gets turned into a thing, because it's basically Jurassic Park, but it's in an underground science base and it's nanomachines. And it's a nanomachine cloud that has been weaponized, and it gets loose and is just fucking people up in a science base.
I mean, in the 90s, I could see why somebody wouldn't want to make that.
Congo.
Now,
Congo's another corporate one.
Yeah.
So like it's man, interesting stuff.
And we all buy into the merch because I bought the Burger King watches.
It's also funny when that merch shot I was talking about Jurassic Park, because the stuffed animals are those like hot pink squiggly line things that are like pure 90s. So it's also funny, like that shot also timestamps like what merch looked like at a real specific time period.
God, those tie-dye shirts are ingrained in my memory forever. Forever.
It bums me out that that's not like has been like a mainstay of like Jurassic Park shirts. Like you still see Jurassic Park logos at fucking Target and stuff all the
see
time.
the black shirt
in,
with
It's a black and white shirt, whatever. Why is the tie-dye one not it? Like, come on.
Just give it some time.
Yeah, Urban Outfitters will get there.
They're going
Urban
through.
Outfitters still? Are they
Maybe.
still?
They're going
Trucking
through all
along?
of it. Because right now, the Comic-Con release, the Comic-Con at Home release from Mattel was the never before released scene, the scene that doesn't exist of Mr. Arnold being killed by velociraptors. You can now buy it in toy form.
Oh, really?
What?
They literally built a little, the box is the hallway in the electrical room.
Yeah.
And it's Samuel L. Jackson running from a velociraptor, and his arm is detachable. So you can
Oh my god.
put the bloody arm on Laura
He didn't
Dern.
deserve that.
That's so amazing.
He didn't deserve that death.
You look it up. That's what they
No one
released during
deserved
Comic-Con.
to die on that island except Dennis Nedry.
Yeah.
Like the lawyer didn't deserve to be eaten off the toilet just because he's making a valid point about the insurance issues on this
Well,
island.
I think that Samuel especially didn't deserve, because he was the only one who had any good sense in that whole place.
Yeah.
But that's one of the amazing pieces of merch. I don't know. The toys are where they really put a lot of thought into what comes out, because they also made like the Barbasol can that includes Nedry.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Is that what they made? Because
They've done that, and it comes with like a variant where Nedry has like the tar on his eyes,
nice,
and he has the expression of just like
So Jurassic Park toys were like my jam as a kid.
Really?
And the Apex #1. And it's weird because I look at some of these now and it kind of kills me inside. Because some of these ones I was like, I would have killed my family for this.
the Nedry that they came out with when we were kids was the way that he was written in the original script, which is he comes with like a flamethrower. He's like super ripped.
Yeah.
He's
Oh
not
my
played by
God.
Wayne Knight. He's just
He's
the
got
action
cool
figure. Yeah, he has
sunglasses.
cool
This Mr.
sunglasses.
Arnold figure is
originally he was
insane.
supposed to be kind of a badass.
I guess so,
Or at
according
least
to the action
attempting to be a
figures.
badass?
Well, they didn't know what any of the characters or actors were. And that was still in the grand time where
That's
like
so
your
amazing.
toys did not have to reflect your movie that much. We were
I
still
only
living in
bought some
laser armor
dinosaurs, so,
Batman
like,
time.
I didn't really.
Oh, I had the fucking command center. Like I was hardcore.
Oh, I was Command Center with GI Joes and Ninja Turtles.
Everybody had their things.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and so yeah, it's been kind of wild. Like I was at Target recently and I think it must have been the Nedry one, and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, how is this? Why now? The only person who hasn't gotten their due yet is Muldoon, because his figure made him look like Bruce Willis.
Oh yeah.
We need a clever girl one that should come with a raptor.
There's my friend David Brown, who's been on this show. He bought a misprinted one where he was I think he was buying an Alan Grant, but it was labeled Muldoon.
Oh, interesting.
So that was something.
Huh.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park toys have been they'll get around to Muldoon. They're getting there because they're making their way through all the characters right now, and they have those like really, they call them the Amber series, where it's like these really highly articulated ones that are super. It's like detailed and realistic.
An American riff on like Japanese action figures for like stuff like that. It's
like sideshow collectibles kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
This almost feels like a perfect segue for us to dive in to the concept because we were talking about movies.
We've basically kind of been talking about it in the sort of sense.
And so just the idea of talking about movies because it's such a dicey prospect.
It's a severely wide net.
Sure.
Quite frankly.
I find myself in a weird quandary with it as of late because I have a thing that I've been writing for a while now that is ostensibly becomes like people making a movie in a movie. And I've had conversations with friends about it. It's you do hit a weird feeling because especially like you see so much stuff from like people in the industry who are trying to get in who all they do is care about movies. So it's all they write about.
Yes. And those ones
are not good. And like the one I did, the whole joke of it is that it's two guys who are kind of hapless, like get the opportunity to do it and then slowly figure out they have no idea what they're doing and that making movies is really hard. And that like the real inspired story they were going for sort of turns into a low grade nightmare. This is the Trash People. Like I think I've forced some of you here possibly to read it, but it's like a bunch of like Southern friend, like 20 somethings trying to make a movie because one of them got some inheritance and is doing it to spite his family. I think the key is like you have to kind of measure out how much of that you have. You can't be Hugo. I think that's the real metric. You can't be Hugo, where the plot of your movie is we must save the movies because we love the movies because we are movies.
The movie Hugo?
Yeah.
Never seen it.
You know that one?
It's not a bad movie.
It's
not, but it's not
good.
It's not great, but it's not bad. In the realm,
it's not accessible.
No.
I'll tell you that. It's it's Martin Scorsese basically wanting to sell a textbook to schools.
How do I be less accessible than the artist in the same year?
Yeah.
Now, how thin do we stretch this premise? Do found footage films count?
No, let's not do that. I think like to me like the one. So this conversation
there has to be a
kicked
meta
off
element
because Robert turned me on to a movie that is now one of my favorite movies, and you guys got to see it. It is called You Shoot, I Shoot. Here it is right here. Give a little background to it because like I love trying to sell it, but like it's a Chinese movie.
Yeah, it's a Chinese
dark
movie.
comedy.
It's a Chinese dark comedy. I remember I had to special order this from Borders Books.
Wow.
This is back when I worked at Borders Books, and I remember the person who did our merchandise, like they would always get upset because I would always ask for these weird movies. And I remember reading a little bit about it, and essentially it was in 2001 is when this movie was made, and basically the time period is there's a recession happening in China, and the hitman industry has taken a hit.
Buy it now for $20 on Blu-ray.
There you go. It's also you can watch it on like iTunes. It's this director's only movie on
the same thing I just hit buy now.
I don't know.
Wait,
Keep
what?
talking. Sorry, that has nothing to do with anything.
It's also the this director's. It's Pang Ho Chung. It's his only movie that's on iTunes. It's like $5 on iTunes. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's the hitman industry basically has been affected by the recession, and so you have this assassin who is hired by this woman to film his murder, and he decides to like make that his gimmick, his selling point, to give himself a leg up in the industry and make himself stand out in the hitman industry. So when people ask for like assassinations, he can be like, well, I'll film it for you. And his first one doesn't go very well because it's his like janky, like he
puts a body cam like a GoPro thing on him.
He doesn't know how to film anything. He doesn't know how to make a movie. So he like just goes to his local swap
He makes the same mistake that so many people came in to Best Buy and I sold them cameras.
Yes.
They were like, I'm going to make a movie.
Why does it look terrible?
No, you're not, but thank you for your $300.
And he gets all of this criticism from his client. And it's that, very relatable scene of you're showing your product to your client and your client is just like, that's, they're giving their critiques. So he decides to.
But it also has one of the top 5 quotes in the movie. So this woman who, I'm gonna burn through this part because it's part of the setup. This woman who is asking him to film it is like, hey, This guy released a sex tape of me, so I want you to kill him. I'm not mad about the sex tape. I'm mad that he didn't tell me about it, and I'm not getting my cut. So what I want you to do is I want you to film it murder him because I want to see his dumb fucking face when you kill him. And then he kills the guy, and the video sucks. And she goes, "That sucked. You're lucky I have more people I need killed, so you get a second chance." And it was at that moment watching it, I'm like, oh, this is a me movie. This is, I'm in whatever happens, and it only gets better from there.
Leading up to that scene, you know, he is talking with his wife, and he's just talking
His
about
wife's so fucking funny,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like, that whole opening scene where they're both in the, like, sexy kimonos doing each other's nails. I was like, the fuck is this movie?
They introduced, like, the state of the economy, at least, like, the job market for a killer for hire, where he makes a hit, he goes to his client to collect, you know, the money, and the guy just says, "I don't have it." And he says, "Well, you pay half before I do it, and then half when the job is done. What happened?" And the guy starts going into this conversation. "Well, I bought some property, like, you know, in this area, and hasn't been doing very well." And then the assassin, you know, in any other movie would get upset and kill the guy or do something.
Region
but
A is Asia and North and South America, by the way. Please continue.
So he he responds, "Oh, I bought some property in the same area." And they go off on this tangent about real estate. And that kind of
You're going to love this
That's
movie,
fucking
Matt. It's
great.
going to
And
break your brain.
Yeah, and it totally takes a 180 in your expectations. And he's home and he's talking with his wife, who's now made an extravagant purchase of a $3,000 bathrobe that he's wearing. And he just starts explaining, like, we can't spend this much money anymore. And she just goes, "Why don't you just kill more people?" And then he says, it's just not good out there. Nobody wants to, you know, pay me. And she recommends he make cold calls. And he says, an assassin making cold calls is not a thing.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a montage of him making cold calls. It's like, "Hey, you know, I remember you telling me that you hated this person. Would you want to kill
see
him?"
him dead. It's those are literally the calls he's making.
And eventually comes to this woman who
Was a former client.
Yeah, and she would. Did she know that she was being filmed? Either way, like, the guy filmed it.
She says she knows. Like, that's the joke, is that she's not upset about the sex tape being released. It's something much colder and more businesslike.
And he like went, like, the person that made the sex tape went with, like, this VCD distributor to, like, mass produce it. And you're introduced to the second character because he is in an adult video
VCD
store, VCD porn shop, and then you do get to see, you don't it's not they don't show anything explicit, but you see, like, why she would be upset, in the sense that her scene is just like,
there's that. Is that the other character, though? Because there's the lady from the sex tape, and then there's the porn actress. Because he's in love with the porn actress.
Right.
This is aggressively giving you nothing.
He's shopping for the porn actress's video.
That's it.
But the store clerk recommends the local
That's
talent.
what it is. Yes. Oh, because they have the local bin, and it's just a whole bin of local pornography.
It's like when you go to, like, Amoeba, and there's the local artist section. You know, just
my God.
the guys.
This
at
is all the
front
first
that have
30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and so he decides, okay, I need
Did
to
that exist in, like, the 70s and 80s and, like, early 90s.
Local porn?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to wait for home video.
You should watch,
recording, so it's videotape makes it.
I think it did, just because I also started the show. I'm only one episode in, The Naked Director on Netflix.
Oh, is that good?
I like it a lot.
I'm
a little biased because I know some people who worked on it.
Because I've been kicking the tires on that. It looks
I
interesting.
tell you what to be. I directed porn.
No. Not quite, but
that makes all of us.
But they that might answer your question, because that takes place in time in Japan, at least when that was a thing, I guess.
That's so funny.
But we're introduced to the second character, who is ultimately going to be the mark for this assassin, because he needs to get better at filming
He's
things.
an aspiring filmmaker.
So his strategy is, I need to find somebody who is just so pathetic, will just do anything. He just needs a tripod, right? He needs it to be a person who can, like, get in and out and, like, carry this clunky equipment. And he finds this guy just like
he's the assistant director to a pornographer, and he's got a crush on the lead porn actress, who's a real fun character because they just play it like it's a goofy romance in any movie. Like they play her like a total shucks gal, and and never undercut it. Like until like the two of them have sex, but like literally even then, like it's the dynamic is really fun. Like that's the thing I love about this movie is like every character is interesting. Like every character is not something you've seen before and is like has a funny game. Like I think it's what makes it work so well as a comedy too.
Yeah. So you have your assassin, you have your aspiring director, and you have your porn actress whose dream is literally just to be a much more legitimate porn actress. Because right now, like she just wants to be like a porn star. Like she wants to be the best at what she does. But right now she's just getting these crappy gigs.
She
like,
fluffs a lot.
Right. She working as a fluffer and doing all this stuff. But he finds this aspiring director at a bar. He decides to threaten him, and the guy's terrified at first.
Yeah.
And then he lights up when he finds out that, all I have to do is help you make a movie.
So you just want me to direct a movie?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll agree to it as long as I get to control the shots. And so they go out on their first film shoot.
That scene's so good.
They storm into this building, the VCD, it's the VCD maker, the distributor. And, he pulls his gun out. The guy's like really excited. He's framing his shots. He's doing establishing shots. He's like running around in the background, just getting
and the
all the
assassin's
things.
like, why are you filming shelves?
Like, come back here. Like we're doing this now. He's like, we need to change the lighting. Is there a window around? And he's like, what?
Oh yeah, drag him towards the window. He's like, why is it? Because his face isn't lit well. Do you want to see his face explode or not?
And so he brings him over, and then the guy like preps a piece of glass to block the blood. And he goes, okay, ready, shoot. And the guy shoots, blood spatters on the glass, and he goes, that didn't quite work. Can we do it again? And the guy's like, no, we can't. And so you find out that the director definitely wasn't filled in on the fact that he just filmed a real murder.
But not a deal breaker.
Not a deal
So
breaker.
they still reshoot that scene and they shoot him again to get a better version of the shot.
And then the editing montage happens.
So he goes home and he's like, well, now we got to edit it together. And then it does a time lapse of like 18 hours of the assassin boardwalk around the apartment while the other guy just sits on his computer and edits the whole thing, which is the most real version of filmmaking I've ever seen.
Right.
Because so many things glaze over in movies about movies, the editing process, because it's the least sexy part, but it's also like where your movie gets not shitty.
And it's one of the most endearing scenes when they finally now show the VHS tape to the client.
Because she's brought her gal pals over to drink wine and watch a snuff film.
And
Yes.
and they put in the VHS, and then like the blue
the copyright thing.
the
I forgot about that.
the copyright thing
And the
pulls
fucking
up.
ladies all look at each other, and the guy's like, "What?" And he's like, "I just put it on. It's professional."
It's like I pulled it from another movie.
That's so funny.
And then they end up with a successful business, and from there it devolves into one of the darkest comedies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But
See, that's the kind of stuff though where it's like about filmmaking,
Yes.
and it's really fun.
Which
It's like the polar opposite of the ones that I hate, which is that like Hollywood celebrating Hollywood. I can't stand a film about old Hollywood making an old movie.
LA plays itself.
Oh my God. Let's face it, LA is not a character. New York, barely a character, but at least those people. Also, New Yorkers scare me. They threaten me, so I'm not going to hit them. But Los Angeles,
It is
whatever. I'm in a car.
Los
run 'em over.
Angeles.
Whatever. Just don't judge my poor words. Point is, we drive cars out here. I'll run you over. In New York, I'm going to run away from you because you can hit me.
It's definitely something that makes me automatically cringe or groan when somebody's like, and it's great. LA's like a character in the movie.
anytime any city is a character in the thing, it's always sort of like, okay,
yes.
cool.
You know, if it was working that well, you wouldn't have to say it.
I think that what's interesting about this too is like I saw this not that long after I saw One Cut of the Dead, which is a very different version of the same concept. you know, but it's it was fun because like I've seen One Cut of the Dead twice. Once on my own where I was like, this shit is crazy, and then they did it on Joe Bob pretty early on, and I got to watch it with Brian Wiley, who'd never seen it, and it was like me and Saunderson and Brian Wiley and somebody else, and everybody had seen it except Brian. So the beauty of it,
watching it on Joe Bob was my first as well.
Like getting to watch someone watch what that movie is doing, like watch the magic trick unfold on somebody else's face is like kind of even better than the movie.
Oh yeah.
It's an incredible movie because it also reminds you, if you've ever been someone who did like a 24-hour film fest or something like that, it's the exact energy you have the entire time.
100%.
Yeah.
You just feel it. You feel it in your bones. You're like, I remember that night.
I had some Nerd Turns flashes when I was watching it of just like tired people and like, this better work.
They somehow made the best college film that will ever be made in the history of film.
One Cut of the Dead is, it does reward.
We should
your
probably
patience.
say a little bit about what it is because I know this is very not.
It's almost hard because like
because you don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen One Cut of the Dead because it does rely heavily on that turn.
Because if I remember correctly, Joe Bob didn't say much about
very little before
he
it
doesn't
opens.
want you to know what it is.
Like it's one of those ones where like it truly like the less you know the better. And I've said before, I'm not a person who's like worried about spoilers and stuff because
but sometimes you
there's some that you don't want to
because this movie it is what I maintain like the problem with people going mad about spoilers when something leans on spoilers normally is like it's a magic trick, which is fine, but like it's a different thing than like straight storytelling. So like but in this case like this movie knows it's a magic trick. It just knows it's an excellent magic trick. Yeah,
giving away stuff of it really kind of like takes away that moment where that first time you realize you have a realization
once
about
you know what the game is.
You're like, oh, excellent. But there's a lot of time left. How can this? There's got to be more tricks.
Yes. And that to me, that was the moment where like because that's another movie I watched on a plane. And when that all happens and you sort of see the turn start, I just remember thinking to myself like there's this shitty grin on my face, like what is this? Like how is this? Where are we going? Like the movie. I love any movie that's like, look, trust me, you're gonna have a good time. You just got to not ask any questions while we get there. That one's fun. I've kind of every time I think of one, I'm just trying to write them down. The one that came to my mind pretty fast once we started talking. That's another one that's like the process of making something and was a big one for me. I know you're not a fan, but Brigsby Bear is another one that's about filmmaking and about creativity and making stuff in a way that like I think really does a good job.
I don't like that one for the aspect of the fact that it's filmmaking or anything like that. So like it doesn't fall into the negative category of the context of this conversation.
So that was one, and then similar to
the Brigsby Bear, it falls into the category that frankly it's my best friend kind of like formed in my mind such a long time ago because he hates it when parents in movies are like like shitty parents and have like really crappy kids that are just like will talk back and like and stuff where it's just like be a parent, be an adult. and that movie I think it hits a point where I'm just like, no, get him mental health.
See, and it's funny because I sometimes wonder if the exact scene you're talking about is the one that I burst into tears on.
Yeah, I'm just like, nah, we need
the scene where they're like, we gotta let him finish it, and they get it. Like, and I literally just was like, this is all I've ever wanted in life. This scene is everything I've ever wanted to have happen.
But you're not that insane.
If you were, I would differ at times.
I don't think
like just that overwhelming sense of trying to in ways and words where you can't explain to someone like you don't know how much this like how much more important than anything else this is to me, and like I know you're like frightened, but you need to do this or I can't be alive.
I wish I could think of an example off the top of my head that like satisfies that. Yeah, no, I just think that it crosses a line for me that's just like, no, man, I don't care how much. If you love him, he needs a fucking doctor.
It's not the same kind of premise, but a scene that is similar is the ending to I, Tonya is like that. It's heartbreaking.
I rolled tears at I, Tonya too.
Yeah, in the courtroom when they basically give her that creative sentencing of she can never professionally skate again.
Yeah,
and she just this is my life.
Yeah.
Like this is all I know. You can't do this. It's worse than death. Give me life in prison. Give me prison. I will take it. Give me anything else. And
it's such a like aspect of creativity that like I think people don't like to see, that there is this level of like kind of crazy to it.
Yeah.
And I think that like I just like identify with it so hard that when I see it, I'm just like, fuck, we don't talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's got to be other one specifically like about filmmaking that nails that. I don't know. It's a specific example.
Yeah, but so that one's odd because it has a lot of, it's, I mean, part of the reason I like it is because it's so integrated into the story that it's the filmmaking aspect of it is almost secondary to all the other things it's doing there. Similarly, I realize also like part of I think the reason sometimes I'm a sucker for these kinds of movies is like, I laugh about with Taylor all the time that like my favorite thing in any movie is teamwork. Like if you look at basically every movie in my top 10 and they were about teamwork and friendship.
Yep, that's why it was inevitable that you had to like Suicide Squad.
Exactly. And I said that to her. I'm like, they tricked me. This one's about friendship and teamwork.
Yep.
And this movie is definitely about friendship as well, because
absolutely it is.
at a certain point he comes clean about like, oh, you were never going to kill me. He's just like, yeah, I just needed I just need somebody to film.
And like the way they kind of just become friends, and it's such a real version of like friends, where it's just like we're around, and then eventually like we're just like, nah, you're the homie, like you're good, we're friends, let's do this. One of the other ones I wanted to hit on here because I've got a couple similar in vein to these two of the arduous nature of making stuff is I think Ed Wood is such a definitive one, and that's another like Ed Wood doesn't hit me quite the way I know some people do it, but like
Same
goddamn, like I probably watched that movie 10 times. I got that sitting around on the Blu-ray. Like
I don't think I've watched it in 15 years.
It's got good jokes too. Like it's got some fun stuff in it.
I probably haven't watched it since like 2007 or something like that.
Yeah, like I think I saw it in college the first time. Like it was I think that guy lived next door to who had all the classy movies.
Yep. It was a college, so I watched it in college and went, yeah, okay.
I never saw it.
Oh really? I'll throw you right. I think you'd like it.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah,
everything about it seems like I would.
It's in my
what it
top
was
5
is-
Burtons.
The problem is I always mixed up the concept of the Truman Show and Ed Wood.
Absolutely.
First, and I don't know why, because I know nothing about the
Interesting.
plot of Ed Wood, but in my brain they're intrinsically linked. Those two movies.
I totally have
Do you
stuff
get
like
it?
that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I very recently had something like this where it was another thing where it's two movies that are completely unrelated, but in my mind I don't remember which one is which.
I had another one of those recently where I said it to you and you were like, what the fuck? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
But that has some really fun moments, and it's the most romantic version of like a filmmaking thing like that. It's but just there's so many cute moments across it.
Is the Truman Show part? Does the Truman Show work for this thought?
I would almost put movies about TV as a different category.
Okay.
'Cause I'd put Truman Show in a similar thing to like Ed TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
They do ever so slightly come into a different beast, which also makes me ask the question: does Synecdoche, New York count?
Synecdoche.
Whatever it is, nobody actually knows how to pronounce it.
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah,
Schenectady, right?
It's a dead language.
But it's I mean that one's because that's theater, right? That he's doing.
It is. It is,
and it's
theater.
all like this all falls under the creative process umbrella, where it turns out people who make movies like making things about making stuff.
It's like how Birdman's about making
theater. The other one that from that same run that I think is Ed Wood, but like played more for everything else is I watched this recently, and goddamn, it holds up as Bowfinger.
Oh, I love Bowfinger.
Man, it's been a while.
Do you guys know the fun thing about Bowfinger 2? That started off as a Muppet movie.
Did it really?
It was originally going to be called the Muppets $100 million movie.
Oh my
and it
gosh.
opened on this insane special effects laden spectacular
Please tell
that's the
me.
first 10 minutes.
Oh my God. That's the plot of $1 Billion Movie, Tim and Eric.
Yes. Both
The beginning
Bowfinger
of
and
the
Billion.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's both that movie and Bowfinger are both riffs on a unproduced Muppet film.
I found another one
Because
that
then the whole
linked in
joke
my
was
brain.
it was going to be the Muppets going around Los Angeles illegally filming celebrities for their movie.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And that's why Frank Oz is the director of Bowfinger, because that was going to be his Muppet
gosh.
project.
I love Frank
That's
Oz.
insane.
Like, it's a whole
Wow.
crazy because and you
I
think
gotta
about it
watch
too, and like
Bowfinger again.
that would have been so funny. Just
I
the
have to
idea
watch
of
it again.
Gonzo hiding in the bushes, like filming Heidi Klum or Dennis Rodman, feels like something that would be
Oh
a
my
good time.
God.
Frank Oz is just such an underappreciated director.
Truly.
Because he also did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah.
which is one of my all-time
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
movies. But yeah, Bowfinger is great.
And he's got that one great scene in American Werewolf.
Yeah.
Another thing where two movies are linked: Bowfinger and guess what? Monkey Bone. Stuck in my brain forever.
Oh,
Where's
that's right.
Where's the link come from?
They were released around the same time.
Was it that?
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
is that what it is? I don't know why. I always mixed them up for a really long time. I thought Bowfinger was Monkey Bone.
That does. Yeah, that's so funny.
It's weird because everyone you say
I do
there
know
is
you're
no
exactly
through
what
line,
you're
and
talking
yet
about.
each time I have nodded.
You
like,
get it.
Yeah,
You're like, I
get
and I
it.
don't know. It's an ethereal thing.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
It's a very
understand why,
strange
but, like, I
thing, but
do,
it
I
makes
get
sense.
But
Yeah.
like, man, Bowfinger's so fucking good.
It really is.
But what about Monkey Bone, guys? Let's talk about Monkey Bone.
That's
Also great.
what's
Brendan
his face?
Fraser has been through a
his-
renaissance.
It was in his Fraser
He's doing
Sean.
That's the Monkey Bone, the only live action movie made by the guy who directed Nightmare Before Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, that's a Selick movie. Henry Selick.
Henry Selick.
Selick, that's
Selick,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's his live action thing. And he was like, I'm gonna make the jump. And then they're like, oh no, you're fucking not.
We're gonna leave you back in animation where you belong, buddy.
But he's like, but I've got 3 pictures, all starring Chris Kattan. They're all up in here.
He'll come back
my
for
God.
Coraline though years later.
That's true. That's true. So he needed
Masterpiece.
he needed
It is a
those
masterpiece.
Wait, was
truly-
Chris Kattan in Coraline?
No, he's
No,
talking
but he
about
should have
Selick.
been.
Monkey.
He's talking about
like-
the director of Monkey Bone.
Yeah, I know, but now I don't
No,
know the
he's
voices. And now I'm
not.
like,
Release
but
the
what's
Catan
weird,
cuts.
Coraline is actually in Corky Romano though, and nobody remembers. There's this
damn it.
one scene where a little puppet girl comes across, and that she looks so much younger.
I'd like a cookie, and then the weight of the cookie makes her arm fall
Yeah.
off. Yeah, I totally
Gosh.
remember that scene.
Yeah, she's in the Girl Scout troop that he's
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
I have not seen that movie, but I do know. that
Anybody
scene.
want some
Everybody
cookies?
knows
It's
that.
I always love when a movie
Cookies.
fails, but everyone in America knows one line from it.
Turtle.
Like, yeah, Master Disguise being another
The fact
perfect
that
example.
Everybody just knows if you say turtle in a particular voice, everybody knows that reference, and maybe 10% of them saw that.
Let me
film.
throw out a third one, but people have seen this movie. Husker Do's, Husker Don'ts. The fucking Joe Dirt trailer.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
oh, Joe Dirt. A movie I've seen so many
I have
times,
actually
and I
seen
don't
it
know
a
why.
lot.
Interesting.
Fun fact for where we're recording this, Joe Dirt's family, of course, found in a trailer park in Simi Valley. That was a big moment when that movie came out and I was in school. It's like, where's the trailer park where his bad parents live? Bowfinger, also watching it, what a crazy cast. Because
Yeah.
like
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie
playing
Murphy,
two
Steve
characters.
Martin, but then you've also got, first of all, Jamie Kennedy, still in that golden age of Jamie Kennedy, floating off that screen time. Fucking Christine Baranski just shooting gold in that movie too. Robert De Niro, still in his coke and heroin phase, is in it as the movie executive.
Wait, he heroin phase as well?
He did all the drugs.
Is it Heather Graham?
Oh, Heather Graham too.
Heather Graham
like,
is in it.
Yeah.
Like there's just
I'm just supposed to know that Robert De Niro was a heroin?
or, no,
addict?
not. Or, I'm sorry, not Robert De Niro. Robert Downey Jr.
There. Okay.
I said the wrong
I was about
name.
to
was like-
say, like,
I
what?
was
That
like,
was
how-
not
and
something
thank
I
you.
knew
Casual
about
ass
him.
information about him.
It's funny 'cause
I would believe coke, but not heroin.
You're both correct, and I now understand why you looked at me like I was insane, and it was because you were right. God damn. But yeah, like and
Bowfinger. That's the and they're trying to make a movie called Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain. There's a cut joke because I've went ahead and watched the deleted scenes to Bowfinger. Because Bowfinger came out in the early days of DVD, where like I would watch every special feature on every DVD. I believe I watched like the commentary to Stepmom. Like I was just like because Stepmom came with our first DVD player. They gave us 5 DVDs.
That's so funny.
It was Lethal Weapon 4, Stepmom, Lost in Space, The Mummy, and shit, I never remember
that's
the
so
last one.
Mine is
What is
mine.
stepmom?
My DVDs
Julia
that came with
Roberts
my DVD
and
player.
what were yours?
Oh, it was Shrek, The Mummy Returns.
Okay.
Okay.
Universal was really pushing their stuff.
Yeah, and I think those are the only two because clearly the place that I bought DVDs
my
didn't hook it up.
My iMac came with a with Bug's Life.
Oh, I was really hoping it came with The Mummy 3.
No,
We
it
would've just
did
gone
not.
full
We would've-
circle.
But our
hated it.
PlayStation came with X-Men Last Stand.
Oh,
Well, they
that
just
pod-
they were like
PlayStation 2.
will you hold
Last
X-Men?
Stand.
almost.
The Last Stand.
Yeah, my PlayStation 2 had a bundle. Instead of a game, it came with fucking
Here, watch
X-Men for
this.
some reason.
I
Was it
love
PS2
when-
or was that PS3? You mean?
PS2. So maybe it wasn't.
No.
Maybe it was X2
It had-
then.
So it must have been
No.
X2.
Wait.
No, it would have been X-Men if it was.
Maybe it was just
no,
X-Men.
Last Stand and PS3. I think that lines up for the DVD release.
As does the
Last
first
Stand.
X-Men and PS2.
Because here's the thing, I don't remember places really hawking DVDs with the PS2s very much because DVD discs themselves were pretty fucking expensive.
But in that
But
early time, they were
the
pushing some of it.
PS3 is the DVD player.
What was
No,
the
it was a
Blu-ray?
Blu-ray player.
Sorry,
You're
it was
mixing
the
it up.
Blu-ray.
So
You're
PS2
right.
does
Yes,
have
Yeah, that's
that.
what I'm trying to say. The PS2 was a
Because that's always
That
the
was
thing
a-
about the
Yeah,
PS2 is
yeah.
it was
That-
the
that
reason it sold so well is because it was everybody's first Blu-ray player or DVD player.
That's
and
right.
so was the PS3.
Although, did you guys ever have the problem? This is going to be real sidebar, but I'm real curious to get this. When I had my PS2 hooked up to my TV, when I would play Blu-rays or DVDs, it had that security feature where it would brighten and darken the screen while you watch.
You turned to
Yeah.
something. You changed a setting in your settings of your PS3.
Well, where were you when I was 13?
On the other side of the country.
That's true. You were in
Yeah.
Ohio like
Far
an
away.
asshole.
What setting did you have?
It was a security thing, was
So
the research
you-
I found on it.
Do you fuck with streaming games at all on Twitch or anything? So when you plug in a console into like those Elgato streaming card things that you then pump into your PC, you have to turn off the. Is it HDCP? I forget
Yeah,
the acronym.
I think so, yeah.
But you have to turn that off, and when you turn that off, it turns off the functionality of properly playing DVDs and Blu-rays. Which will just do defaults to the old school VHS style, which was fuck with the brightness. A thing would be embedded into the tape that says, "Oh, this shit got copied."
Yeah.
So
I figured out what it was with
Toggle
mine
the
back in the day,
brightness up
and
and
I
down.
wish I had figured out to turn it off, but it was that because I had to run my AV through a VCR,
Yep.
PlayStation's interpreted that as you copying your DVD to VHS, and so it would auto run the thing.
Man, I gotta call Devika to tell her that's what's been happening. I had no idea.
This is just a helpful episode.
Yeah, this is great. No, but I-
that happened to one of my friends one time because he had turned it off for some reason, and then he was like, "What the fuck? I thought these things played discs." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I use it all the time." It's like
It's your friend Charlie.
I had this thing for
Charlie
years, and I just tried it.
Day is.
he also, he's very illiterate.
You know, it's a great anachronistic moment that just came to me in film. We got to clip out the scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin where he sells Kathleen Keener a VHS DVD hybrid. As you guys were saying it, that scene just came to me because I was imagining the VHS DVD hybrid, and I was like, why do I remember that? Oh, yeah.
When you said Charlie Day and illiterate, all I could think of was Pepe Sylvia.
Pepe
Good old
Sylvia.
Pepe Sylvia.
Which is the gag under that. I think a lot of people don't realize is that he can't read the word Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Right.
That's Rivers Langley dropped that bomb on me one night.
I'm pretty sure I dropped that bomb on Rivers at some point.
Man, what a journey we've all gone on. But
That's
yeah,
so funny.
it's
Oh my gosh.
Who is Pepe Sylvia's on all of this mail?
Oh, that's amazing. Did you guys ever, so like with the free DVD stuff, at a certain point, Pizza Hut had a promo where you could buy a pizza and get a free DVD. Did you guys ever get?
I have 2 X-Men VHSs from Pizza Hut.
X-Men was
I
really
remember when they
pushing
did
it, huh?
that,
They really
yeah.
wanted it.
Well,
in the
this
box.
was
They had episodes of the
cartoon, it's a
X-Men.
cartoon, 'cause
Yeah.
It's funny. I watched those 2 clips very recently. Oh, we did it for a bonus feature, I think, maybe for this show.
I think you did, yeah.
It was for the Patreon. That was an early Patreon. Was Casey and I watching X-Men? We watched the
Yeah.
X-Men. We watched those 2 episodes, and then on YouTube we watched the interviews before. It is crazy because, like, as a comic fan, as a kid, I had no idea who any of these fucks were except Stan Lee. And now you watch it, it's fucking Stan Lee, Bob Harris, Fabian Nicieza, and Scott Lobdell. It is literally the barrel's bottom. Not even scraping, implying that it was ever not a part of the bottom of
Scott
the barrel.
Lobdell is pretty amazing. He's hilarious, and he also I think he wrote the screenplay for Happy Death Day, so he's doing okay.
Did he
now.
really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
We
did
got his
actually.
shit back
Yeah.
together. I have really enjoyed on cartoonist
Big fan.
kayfabe
Yeah.
that they refer to him as K-Fabian Nicieza and Scott Jobdell. Because so for context, they were the people writing X-Men in the early 90s when it was the best-selling comic book in the world. It was the best-selling comic book in the world because of Jim Lee's art.
Yeah.
Not their terrible, I'm not even going to say borderline, illegible writing.
And Fabian is the other creator of Deadpool as well, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so what happened is that the reason they are on this tape and not Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, who are the reasons those books that they're showing all those images of are popular, they had just quit to found Image. And so they are having to. So literally, it's Stanley, famous evil man, sitting with Bob Harris, Scott, and the two other guys who will ultimately, as a group, bankrupt Marvel. And you're listening to three guys who just fired the talent that made their company successful, and a guy who did the same thing 50 years ago, all patting themselves on the back for what a good job they did. It's kind of head exploding.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh man.
Like, and at the time I was like, yeah, these guys are the guys making X-Men.
Amazing.
It's a wild piece of historical thing, but yeah, the wait. So what? I want to go back to this DVD Pizza Hut thing. What were they hawking?
I mean,
what were
okay,
the DVD? I don't remember.
so
I remember getting VHSs as a child because there's Ninja Turtles as well. But what were the DVDs?
The DVDs that I have from Pizza Hut that I still have and I treasure very much is Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay.
Mr. Mom.
Oh.
What else did I have?
I remember these.
Yeah, and they also had All Dogs Go to Heaven 2.
Yes, it was a weird combo of stuff.
Now, when you got the DVDs, were they in weird packages like that were different?
They
from
were
the store?
in just a paper,
Like a
They did the
sleeve.
paper like
paper
just the little
sleeve
square.
with just the movie poster on the sleeve.
They gave you screeners.
Yes, and on the back it had like the Pizza Hut logo and like the credits of the movie. But when you opened it, no DVD menu. It played like a VCD. I remember my Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. You would pop it in. First thing that you see is a Pizza Hut commercial, and then the movie.
Oh, like my
That's
Ninja Turtles VHS.
incredible.
Dude, that is amazing.
One of my favorite things.
I love shit like that, and I'm glad that we're now that stuff's far enough away that we're really starting to go back and like re-explore those like 2000s tech things because there's so much weird bullshit there.
The auto rewinding disc.
Okay, that's actually my first memory. The first time I watched a DVD, I believe the first DVD I ever watched was The Mummy. So just started strong.
That
Great.
sounds probably like the case for you.
I
Your
remember
family loved the
No,
Mummy,
no,
right?
I'm telling you, it was Bug's Life because it came with our computer.
I didn't know that was.
I have
that
two
was
distinct
it.
memories. We ran it through like a stereo we had that we didn't use a ton, but two of the speakers for the stereo were in our garage at the time. So the Mummy was on, but then I went to go take something to the trash cans in our garage, and the fucking Mummy sounds in there. So my garage is terrifying all of a sudden. So for many years, if you were watching a movie, people would get confused as shit if you went into the garage because all of a sudden you're hearing out of context movie sounds. And the other thing I remember is finishing it because my job as a kid, I was the rewinder. Because on Friday night, when you finished the movie that had to go back that same night, I would go and rewind the movie, and then me and my mom would drive to Blockbuster and I'd put in that overnight box. And I remember getting up because a movie is done, so Rewinder Boy must go rewind, and then realizing a disc doesn't rewind, and me going, we are in the fucking future.
They're totally right. Technology is going to make it so we have to work less.
You know what's so funny is both of our remotes are broken for our sound and for our TV. So now we just live in the past.
We totally do.
We like have to stand up and turn things off.
So we have
Like
two
cowboys
We have
did.
two problems. One, just the power button on our Samsung TV remote doesn't work. All of
But
the
everything
other
else
buttons are
works.
fine. So we always walk up and hit the power button because we're like, why buy another fucking controller just for that? Because chances are you're probably walking down the stairs and then already walking right past the TV to enter the room anyway. So fucking just stick your right hand out.
I had that with my old sound bar. Is the volume down broke, so I could make it louder. But at the end,
God,
Did you have to like unplug
that's so much
it?
work.
no. If I needed to take the volume down, usually at the end of the night, if I'm gonna like fall asleep watching TV, I had to get out of bed, walk over, push it down, and then go back.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you
So-
meant just in general. It was
the other problem is we just keep forgetting.
No, I'd have thrown it away a lot faster then. This I dealt with for a year and a half.
I just keep forgetting to buy rechargeable AAA batteries, so we have no AAA batteries, and that's what the sound
Double A
remote takes.
batteries.
No AAA in the little one. That's the whole reason why. Because otherwise, we have the batteries. It would have replaced them, and we could sit on the couch and turn the volume up and down easily. But instead, every time we start to watch something, that's when we remember, oh yeah, we have to walk over to the sound bar, hit a button, and every app reacts slightly
Yes.
different to it.
Oh,
too.
that's so real.
One of them, the sound, if you don't hit play in 90 seconds, you're fucked. That thing is just gonna like it just says turn off.
Yep.
Other things, such as like, I always forget this with the PS5 because I'm playing through headphones and stuff, and then I don't toggle the sound like back to the sound bar. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll play for like 3.5 hours.
And not notice that the sound has been off?
And then like I'll turn off the PlayStation, and then because I've done that, it'll ding and bring up the little tray menu for like all of the apps, and I'll forget that the sound was actually on, and then I'll practically piss myself because my TV just goes bing, and that's enough to just fucking.
I did not know about the headphones because I don't ever play anything online for the PlayStation until I started doing Midnight Movie Club, and then I started because I'm so late that I just throw headphones on for that every time I do it. And like, what an invention! That little headphone thing in the controller. What a great little thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then when you get past like how good the sound quality is actually on the PlayStation, when you're not using that, but they have like a direct dongle into the USB port.
Oh,
I really do think that the PlayStation's audio quality for its chat is probably the best that's out there.
It sounds good
gaming.
even when you're talking through the controller.
It's pretty stupid good. Whatever
that shit is
algorithms
wild.
they've got crunching the sound data on it does a really damn good job. Like there's times where I'm like, it was easier to make this all sound really good in this group thing for playing a video game than it was the last time we had audio issues on my fucking podcast. Son of a bitch. This should just sound bad all the time. And we should just be like fine with it. We're like, yeah, whatever. It's video games. We're used to it, but somehow it sounds fucking great.
I also got to say, like, just as an example of the reason I love podcasting and podcasting is the best. Other media formats do not have people go, what kind of batteries do we need to buy again? The whole time you guys are doing like, this is why we podcast. This is my favorite shit in the world.
Yeah.
Because I love that on other shows. I'm like, yeah, get those batteries.
Yeah.
I am not doing a bit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm being very earnest.
Hopefully people start writing in and they're like, did you
get those batteries?
yet?
I hope so,
it
because
will
I keep
be
forgetting to put it on the list where I write things to buy.
Tweet at Matt or Laura, probably Laura.
No, don't tweet at Matt. That's
tweet at
useless. That's useless. That's like shouting
at
into
LM
the
Night
air.
Art, go buy batteries.
Yeah, please tell me that. Because I got this nice little list on the fridge where I write things we need to buy, and I keep not writing that, so we've had no remotes for like 2 months.
I do want to throw out, speaking of needing to buy things and remembering in weird ways, it's a hell of a segue. The one other movie I had written down that I do want to get to, because Laura mentioned it before when we were getting started, American Movie. You've seen American
Absolute
Movie, I presume,
favorite.
right? Like, quietly one of the best movies ever. Like, I had not seen it in full until a few years ago, and then was
Really?
because I didn't know what it was. Like, I
amazing.
thought it was some random IFC like political bummer thing or something, and did not know it's one of the great comedies of the 90s
I didn't know
or 2000s, I guess.
how like ahead of the curve in a sense for like people our age, I guess. People that are a little bit older than us, I guess they were the right age for when that came out.
Yeah,
we were so
too
slightly
young for it to be a thing.
Yeah.
But I was that person whose parents never told them that he couldn't watch Late Night with Conan O'Brien obsessively. So I saw them as guests and was like, what
interesting.
is this? And then
Was
once,
Mike Shank on Conan O'Brien?
fucking yes,
What a gift! What a gift that man is.
right?
Like,
Oh, yeah, the
he's the
Flyers.
best character in a movie.
He's my
Just
favorite.
this soft spoken, sweet weirdo.
If he could officiate our wedding, then you know what? God dang, that would be the best. Laura doesn't agree.
Like when
No.
when there's this like the two moments where I truly like fell in love with that movie. One is when Mike Shank's in a good mood and the camera crew pull him to the side and ask him why he's so happy but nervous, and he's like, I won a lot. I won $50 in a scratch off, and I don't want any of them to know because they'll take it from me.
Yeah, I just,
Oh my God.
dude, that part, it's seriously one of my favorite moments in all of film when they're like, okay, we're gonna start promoting like casting or whatever it is that they're gonna do, and he's like, here's these flyers, go hang them up all over the place, and he just goes walking, and he's like, hey, he's like, come back, and he just keeps going and going and going, and then finally, huh? Oh, and the slow walk back.
It's such a good shot.
Everything, just the whole thing. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. And it's the most immediate brain fart that has ever been captured in any medium.
I can now say the only other movie that I've seen that is similar, and it's a fictional movie, but like Fubar is the only other thing I would say is in the same category of movie, which you guys will watch at some point.
I've seen
as
it.
Okay, as fellow Canadian lovers. Have you seen Fubar?
No, I've not
It's
seen
just
that one.
about two piece of shit Canadian guys and their friend who is no longer a piece of shit, and how they're convinced that any day he's going to come back and party with them.
He
and
used to be a piece of shit. Sorry.
there.
Sorry.
I think you should leave. Have you watched season 2 yet?
No,
I love that show so
I
much.
said it. You